make it.
Doesn't make the Earth flat.
But what was the point of showing you that, though? I don't understand. Because it's true that it reflects slightly differently, but it's
Well,
not.
so they claimed that the two lasers were still going far enough to where they would have been hidden behind any curvature that was there, but yet, so that means refraction was happening, but yet the two lasers that of different colors weren't any different. They weren't farther apart or anything like that. So therefore, because the two different colors weren't refracting from each other.
The fact that they never get the lasers to actually show on the target, I don't know how they would say they would be different distance apart. I mean, that only works up to a few hundred yards or maybe a mile. I don't think a mile is too far. Usually by that it's like feet in diameter.
How come I can see Charlie's name? I can't see Charlie in the room, but I can hear his voice.
Just leave the room and come back, and it might fix. Are you on the browser?
My internet browser was, yeah, but
I just posted the video they sent.
So interesting. Those lasers are way different height. Or you're really close.
I actually found a video that shows a laser bending visibly where you can actually see it.
Okay. Where it hangs on the water and then bounces up.
Yeah, what's the situation?
So that I'm pretty sure the picture I just posted, that's refraction, right?
Bending of light is refraction.
So this is evidence that light refracts in an atmosphere.
FE Core's test proved that lasers refract in an atmosphere.
FE Core?
Yeah. Bunch of flat Earth. Who shot a laser across the lake?
Is it just FECORE?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying how like flat earthers they will treat looming refraction like it's just this ridiculous notion, and they're like, "Oh, come on, you're like as if we're making an excuse for why we see these visual phenomena."
Well, isn't there a constant that's involved with your calculations that you guys talk about?
Please elaborate. What do you mean?
Well, when you're making a math calculation for certain effects, there are constant values.
That describe what we would expect and stuff like that. I think refraction's a bit difficult though because of different temperatures and that, different conditions.
All right, refraction is not constant in the way that you're probably thinking.
Well, then how can you do a math calculation?
You in order to actually calculate it, you've got to have readings of the conditions that are necessary to do the calculations. And the conditions are always varying.
So is there a formula?
Yeah, there is.
Yes.
But also there is a calculation for standard refraction that gets used quite a lot.
That's what I was referring to. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's just based on some sort of average atmospheric conditions. I think it's based on like a temperature of 20 degrees centigrade and I don't know, be another temperature higher up and a certain pressure, and it's
these
just
values that you're referring to. These are calculations according to the temperature.
Yeah, there's still a set of numbers behind them. It's just for the standard refraction calculation, they just use a certain set of commonly occurring atmospheric conditions. Basically.
So if someone were to measure refraction, like the conditions thereof, how would one go about doing that?
Well, you need to get temperature and pressure gradients from the surface upwards, sort of.
I'm not trying to be cheeky, but what's a pressure gradient and how do you know there is one and how do you measure that? I mean, no, I'm speaking from a layman's point of view. Sorry.
The air pressure at sea level is, what is it, 14.7 psi.
Okay.
And as you go higher, it gets less. And that's why, your ears pop in an aeroplane or when you drive up a steep hill or whatever.
So that would be referred
change.
to as a pressure gradient, is what you're saying?
Right.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's like the water, like a lake or the ocean or something.
Oh, yeah.
And the deeper you go underwater, the more pressure there is. That's why it gets harder.
But it's opposite for the sky as it would be for the water.
Yeah, it's the same.
No, it's the closer to the Earth, you get the more pressure. Like the closer to the Earth's core, you get the more pressure is. The further down you go, and the higher you go, the less pressure you get because you're less. Is it less attraction? I'm not too sure.
It's just the less weight of what's above you. So in the water, if you go in a deep pool,
if your ears pop at high altitude and then your ears also pop at depths of the sea, I mean, that's what I was referring to, actually. Okay, so that would indicate your pressure gradient, correct?
Different kinds of pressure, I think, maybe. I don't know if someone's...
No, it's like the same idea. As you go down, it's going to be more pressure because there's more water, more air above you. If you go up, there's less pressure because there's less air above you. So it's like the weight of what's above you.
So when your ears pop when you're in a plane, that's like because of decompression. But when you go down, it's because of compression.
Yeah, I suppose.
But it would still be within the range of a pressure gradient, correct?
Yeah, right. That's happening because of pressure gradient. Like that's basically the pressure inside your body, coping with that. I'm pretty sure the pressure inside your ears.
Is it Jen?
Hello.
Hey, Jen. Yeah, I just posted something, I think. This is with my phone. The first measurement on the left where it's high on the floor of my house. Then at my desk surface is where the pressure drops. And then the last drop is when I bring it up to eye level. That's pressure gradient right in my house, measurable.
I apologize. I was like transferring some memes that people, well, not memes, but pictures that somebody had posted. So if you give me just a quick second, I can get to where you are if you posted something. Okay, so, all right, I'm looking at your barometer reading. Okay.
Now, the first measurement on the left is sort of actually sitting by my belly as I was getting ready to take the measurement. Then I stood up. Then I put it down on the floor. Then I picked it up back to the desk surface. And then I picked it up to eye level at 6 feet. You can see the measurements change based upon its... And it's measurable even with little distance as... with this device, I can measure 6 inches of pressure.
That would be within a consistent temperature, correct?
Yes. It would vary based.
That's not how the atmosphere is, though, right?
Right. You've got the temperature at play as well, which is also affecting the air pressure.
So it's like things like that. It's things like that. What I just pointed out. Not like I'm trying to do some checkmate bullshit or anything. That's what people have a problem with over at 24/7.
Well, there's a refraction coefficient calculation, and we just plug those values in. If you measure them, if you've got them, you can plug them in, and you can figure out what the refractive effect should be.
And what gotcha does she think she just got?
Yeah, it can. It can be done.
You just, that is allowed.
You just. I think the coefficient thing. I think it uses 4 different values.
Interesting.
That they calculate it from
temperature, density, pressure, and then finally humidity. I think.
Right.
Okay. By the way, another
the gradient and the severity of the gradient is even more important than the actual numbers themselves.
And so when these observations are done over water, that's when you tend to get this, a more extreme temperature gradient and consequently, to some effect, pressure gradient because water and air change temperature at different rates. So if it's just been nighttime, for instance, and the sun comes up and it was a cold night, then the air near the water is going to stay cold because it's cooled down by the water, but the air just above it is going to get warm quickly because there's bright sunshine.
Well, you wouldn't have those issues if it was done during a consistently cold temperature of the atmosphere.
That would certainly help. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what we normally do is
in
we
fact,
try and match the water
that's
temperature
why
with the air temperature, if possible.
I don't know as much as you guys do about the FE core laser experiment. I'm not speaking it in support of their results, so don't get me wrong here. Just a little disclaimer.
Right.
But I do have a question, or a thing to point out is that they did do their observation over a frozen lake,
Right.
and the only thing I would think of that you guys would have issue was the amount of surface area. I don't know.
I have one
I'm
quick
sure.
question for you about that. Since you're bringing up FE core, I have one quick question. Sly Sparkane had an interview with Mike Kavanaugh, and Mike Kavanaugh says that all their tests they had did not have laser grids, and Karen B says they did. Which FE core member should I trust?
Oh yeah, here we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Yeah, I agree with
Which?
Yeah,
you. If you did listen, I said not in support of, but
right. With the frozen lake, you can have also still a very different temperature. You basically, your air temperature could be 70 degrees above a
well,
a
I'm
frozen
sure
lake.
after a certain temperature, you're gonna have like the best viewing experience, and it couldn't get colder otherwise. I mean, I guess if it's too cold, is there such thing as it being too cold and there being refraction? I don't think
Now,
so.
the best temperature is exactly the same temperature as the surface.
Right.
That's the best for getting the most consistent, closest to standard refraction numbers.
And can I get this in? The most severe refraction ever recorded, I believe, was in the Antarctic in extremely cold conditions. So don't think that it's just a matter of whether it's cold or it's hot or anything like that. They had absolutely ridiculous refraction in the Antarctic that had, multiple double-digit degrees of refraction, I believe is the record.
What were the ideal conditions are where you've got very even temperature between the Earth's surface and, somewhat higher up, however far your field of view extends.
Oh, but I don't know who said it, but whoever said the closer the temperature of the ground to that of the atmosphere, the same temperature, the better the farther you should be able to see, correct?
No, that's when you'd get the least refraction.
Well, isn't that beneficial to seeing more accurately?
More accurately,
but not further.
Of course.
More accurately in terms of modeling it against the globe.
You can't see around a ball.
What's the barometer app called that you have?
It's Physics Toolbox.
Physics Toolbox.
Yeah, Physics Toolbox Suite. It's free. It's pretty cool.
Hey, Jen.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, you got Physics Toolbox Suite, don't you?
I used to. I don't have anymore. If the sun is setting over the ocean, okay, and you see the sun on the horizon of the ocean, how far away is that sun?
You're asking me the distance to the apparent horizon?
No, I'm asking you to the distance to the sun, not the horizon.
You're asking me if I know the distance, how far away the sun is?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure why. I think you're confused.
Nope. I'm standing on the seashore, 6 feet tall. The sun is setting on the horizon. How far away is the sun?
Do I have to repeat what I just said?
I think you might have to try one more time.
I don't know where you're coming from, man. You're way off in left field. I have to apologize to you.
Well, you're a flat earther, so I'm asking you how far away the sun is.
No.
Chris, she hasn't got an answer. Don't do this, please.
Sir, I like to have conversations about what happens in
Yeah,
when
the
people
sun
talk
setting
about
on
flat
the
Earth?
ocean is something that happens and we see. How far away is that? You flat earthers claim that we see too
All
far.
right, first of all,
How
my
far
name's
away is that?
Jen. My
Chris,
name is
I'm just going to
Jen. It's
mute you.
not
If you ask the
flat
question again, I'm
earthers.
going to mute you. She's given her answer, and that's it.
Wow. Smoke a doob, man.
I know. We were
What's
just
up?
having a conversation. You've turned it into a war, Chris, for no reason.
Dude, you're barking up the wrong tree, bub. I ain't one of those you flat earthers. Let's get that straight right now.
Hi, Jen. I want to
What the
apologize
fuck?
for that behavior. I'm
Thank
Latanya.
you.
How are you?
Good,
Oh, you're
thanks.
welcome. Okay, so yeah, you're right on. Those questions are just fine and fair, and if we'll do our best to answer honestly as we can, and got a pretty good group of pretty smart folks around here, and believe
Oh,
me,
of
I
course. I
struggle with
agree
stuff
with
all the time too. So, don't be afraid to ask for questions, and don't think that there are any stupid questions either, okay?
Yeah, well, since when did I ever become you flat earthers? I mean, maybe I should change my name. Kidding.
Chris is
I'm
just
not
coming in
afraid, you
hot
guys.
for some reason.
I guess.
And I think
It's like,
what he's trying to get to is the apparent horizon of I think probably 3.5 miles or so, or something like that.
No, he specifically said.
Is he talking about 93 million miles?
He's not asking
oh,
about
well, I
height
mean,
at all, so it wouldn't be right to come in and say, I think what he's getting at is such and such, when he specifically, no. It is
if
about
he wasn't so aggressive,
at this
if he
point.
wasn't,
I'm almost
Sorry.
done, if you don't mind.
Sorry.
So, and it was mostly, fuck it, go ahead,
So
banter.
sorry. Okay, so if he wouldn't have been so aggressive, I probably would have had a chance to think, but I'm not thick-skinned like you guys are. So anyway, actually the answer to the question would be referring to what the scientists, priests have all told us what the distances are, and it's changed several times, and I'm pretty sure that's documented. And that's all well and good, but I don't know why that question would be asked of me.
Okay,
That's just ludicrous.
Okay, Chris, make your point again, but just explain what you're trying to do. Don't go for the gotcha. Just explain the point, please.
The point is, flat earthers generally say that the horizon, if I'm a 6-foot observer standing on the seashore, is about 3 miles away.
Okay.
You place that sun on the horizon, how far is the sun away?
Well, you're not begging the question that it's going to be 3 miles away. I don't know where you're going. I don't.
Well, if the sun is setting on the horizon, it's a pretty simple question.
But the horizon isn't
3
a
miles away.
physical
If the sun
place.
is setting on the horizon, how far away is it?
Okay, well, it's not a physical place. It's referred to as the apparent
Really?
horizon.
Water's not physical?
Seriously?
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, is water physical or not?
Yeah, physical. I'd say.
Okay, are we playing a game? Are you?
Just answer the question. I'll answer the question for you, Jen, since you're unsure. Yeah, I'd say it's physical. Yeah.
Okay.
You guys can carry on the conversation. I'm going to listen and learn.
Yeah, you're afraid of being wrong, but never be afraid of being wrong, because you know what? If you don't ask the question, you're a fool for. If you don't ask the question, you're a fool forever. But if you ask the question and you're wrong, you're a fool for 5 minutes, because you'll learn. So,
well, if I was sitting in a coffee shop with you dudes, I would have gotten up and left.
Well, you would never learn nothing then, would you? If someone asks you if water physical and you go, is this a trick question?
She may not have come here to learn something from you guys.
Never said she did. Just answering a white.
Well, I really don't appreciate being patronized, for one.
All right, you're too sensitive. I get it. You're emotional. Forget it.
From me.
Oh, so emotional. Are we going to go down this ride again?
He didn't understand the question. I think that's more than fair, because I kind of didn't understand the question, what he was asking either at first.
Why is it
Just
hard
give us some time.
Is the water physical? Yes or
Hey guys, I know you're good with the ladies, Chris, but sometimes you gotta learn. You know, I mean, she says she doesn't want to engage like that, then you know.
Then let me explain. So it's called Socratic method. I don't think he was trying to be rude. He's just trying to establish a point. He's saying, okay, we agree that water is physical, right? That's obvious. Like he's just making the point so that we can understand where he's going with it.
Fine, just say that then, and why don't we just walk her through it instead of, she obviously doesn't know what you're trying to say, so let's
that was
start
why
over.
I want her to answer whether the water is a physical object or not. Not me. I don't need to explain.
She doesn't want to answer it, Chris. Just
so
leave it.
I have to be in a science class with you right now. We have
that's
to go
not kind of the way it
sounded.
It sounded like you were asking. I didn't understand you wanted to know if there was water physical either. She didn't understand the questions. So it's over and done. Just let's start over.
All right, Chris, as your mentor, I'm going to give you strict instructions here to make your statement, make your point without asking questions. Just say what you have to say.
How do I know what she believes without asking her questions?
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Just say what you have to say, and then if she has questions, she can ask you, or she may not care. But just say what you have to say. It doesn't have to be Q&A. Now go, buddy.
I know what she believes. I already know what I believe. I want to know what she believes, not me.
Well, you're not going to get it.
A lot of different flat earthers have a lot of different ideas about how the world works. So he's just trying to establish a baseline for what we're, exactly arguing here.
Sure, but this Socratic method is not always appropriate, and is often rarely appropriate in this room.
I can attest to that.
It's because flat earthers hate the question, is water physical? That's not my fault.
All right, Chris. We were just all here having a nice chat. You've turned it into a nasty argument. I don't know why you chose to do that, but that is what you've done. You ask this question more or less every day. This could have just been a day when you didn't ask it, or maybe your approach was just a bit more, I'm going to catch you out and expose you, or a bit less of that, I should say.
Hey, and for the record, I'm cool with you being a glober if you can possibly stand that. And you know what? I don't really like the term flat earther because, okay, I think too much, like a lot, and so I think I ruffled a few feathers over in 24/7. I will not be naming any names, but in order to me, this is how I see it. No. So to me, if you are to proclaim yourself as a flat earther, and this is just one aspect of many with this question, okay? So you would have to go for yourself and make an observation for yourself. So for those who have not, my big question is, how can you, and Jem, you've probably heard this before from me. Okay, so how can you say, I know the earth is flat? Well, if you have not done an observation for yourself.
All right. Well, I mean, I do have sufficient observations of my own to make that determination, but you're right. I wouldn't normally go to those, and I don't think that is required. I accept the existence of lots and lots of things without personally confirming it for myself. Sorry, go ahead.
Then it would be a belief on both sides.
Well, I don't think so. My definition
belief.
My definition of knowledge is justified true belief. That means it has to be something. It has to be something I believe to be true. I have to have a justification for believing it to be true, and I have to be able to check the truth against reality and see that what I believe does comport with reality and doesn't not comport with reality. And if it's for me, if it meets those criteria, then I consider it to be knowledge, and I would say that's something I know.
I think it's really awesome that you brought up that term, sir. So thank you very much, because I need to study the word and different uses of that word thereof, because I quite possibly, taking it too literal, because then you get into the question, well, can you know anything unless you've
I've never been
experienced
to
it?
Japan, but I know Japan exists.
Right.
Right. I mean, would
Yes, exactly.
you would say that, right? You would say, if I said to you, do you accept the existence of Japan? I'm assuming you would say yes without having personally experienced it, and that is entirely reasonable, because there's a huge body of evidence which
Okay, but
supports the
wait.
existence of Japan. So,
But you can't watch a bunch of Japan documentaries and say you know what it's like to be in Japan.
no, but you can say that you know that there is a Japan.
There are degrees of
Okay.
certainty. Some things we know for certain, like 1 + 1 is 2. Some things we're very certain of, like Japan exists. It might not, but it probably does, right? And then there's other things that we're less certain of. So it's,
Well, I was taking it too literal.
Yep.
And
agree.
I can see the other aspects of what people have said in response, but
Well, I think that it's to me this, and I know I'm not putting this down to you, because I know this is a sort of common rhetoric in flat Earth, but I think it's just a way to sort of be able to, just
disregard things,
just dismiss all of the evidence, and just you can just totally, as Rummy says, disregard that. And now you can just say, oh, well, it's just a belief. It's just like believing in the Bible or believing in Santa. It's just a belief.
right.
Because you haven't gone and personally verified it. Verify is the word they use a lot, isn't it? Because
Well,
you
I
haven't
guess
gone
there
and
is a way
personally
around
verified it.
that.
Therefore, you don't know it. Well, I don't
Well,
think
see-
that's true. And they don't apply that standard to anything else in their world, only to the shape of the Earth. You could ask, and I do this regularly, you could ask them if they know that China exists, and 9 out of 10 of them, will just say yes. And they haven't been there, they haven't personally verified it, they accept it. And what they usually say is, in that case, they go, oh, but I know I can go to China. Well, you don't. If it doesn't exist and China's all a big lie, you can't go there. You just think you can, and that's part of the lie and part of all of the stuff that you've just believed about China. I just don't think that's an honest approach, and it's not how we think.
It's just something I've been investigating for myself.
Right.
So,
but I think if there's a big body of evidence supporting the existence of something, you accept the existence of it. Of course you do.
It's like in the Truman Show when he wanted to go on a trip, and then they had to basically make this fake little version of where he thought he was going, like a little stage, so he thought he was in another.
$2,000 or $3,000, any flat earther who lives in Australia can go to the Antarctica and see the 24-hour sun. $2,000. So it's very doable. At least that's the claim.
You know what I like to do when I can't know something from firsthand experience is I like to know who is providing the information and, look at general body of the work and the integrity and, if there's any well, I guess if there's any shenanigans, philanthropy or whatever, if Bill Gates said something today, I would not listen to him. What?
I think you're absolutely right. That seems like
there's nothing wrong with source criticism as long as you take it up with an eye that is unbiased.
Right.
I can state emphatically, though, I know for a fact the entire world's population does not live in the state I live in. I don't have to try to prove it to anybody. I know it for a fact.
That's a good point.
Do flat earthers claim the 24-hour Antarctic sun doesn't exist, or do they claim that it's some weird lensing effect of?
They say it doesn't exist.
Say that it acts like a mirror and like a fiber optic cable, so it bounces around, and you can see it at the entire, or you can see it South Pole 24 hours because.
Well, the one that I know that speaks on that topic is Jeranism, and I was never I never vibed with what he had to say. I really describe it.
He tended to deny it. He would look at videos and say, "Oh, there's this little edit here, so it's not actually 24 hours," or the shadows are going the wrong way, or You know how he is. He just makes shit
And
up.
you know what? Ironically, I now enjoy using the word interesting.
Right. Yeah.
As a jeer in it, though. Fuck.
Is that from the movie?
Yeah,
Yes.
from Behind the Curve. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his fatal moment, wasn't it? Interesting.
His infamous quote.
Yeah.
Does the 24-hour sun happen at the peak, the tip where close to Argentina, where Antarctica is like?
I think they get like 15 hours of sun.
Yeah, I thought it might be 16, but they're a long, long way from Antarctica. Even there.
While we're on the subject, I actually spoke to a lady that did a cruise to Antarctica, and she did see with her own eyes a 24-hour sun.
Wow.
She lives here in Melbourne.
You know what? I think I'm a bit desensitized, Jen Panda. Where I'm a bit aggressive with people like Jen, also when they don't really commit to what they know. Like sometimes you doubt yourself when you know that water is a physical object, and even if you're scared to be wrong, I feel like you should just commit yourself to it, and then if you get corrected, you can then learn from that. But if you're always hesitant on making that step, you'd never really make the progress, and you'll always be in that limbo.
But she was reluctant to commit herself to the interrogation, not the content of it.
But who was the question?
Yeah, I don't like being interrogated, dogpiled. That's not fun. If you guys want to do that, you guys go ahead.
No, that's not. I'm just like that anyway. Like for me, I'm very like sharp.
You described your strategy, and I believe what you said 100%. That's what you do. That is what you do.
I do that myself, though. No, that's how I am as a person. I jump into.
Yeah, you just say things so fervently, and even though you probably don't even believe it to be true.
Don't even know what I'm on about. Follow me.
But I know water is a physical object.
It's just because it's physical. Like, what isn't physical, really? Like, even air's physical. Everything's kind of physical in a sense. You know what I mean? To me, it's a physical world. Matter is physical, right? But like, you know what I mean? Like fucking,
Did you just say math is physical?
Matter, like matter.
No, matter.
Matter.
I think he said matter.
Okay. I was gonna.
What about
a really powerful air gun? They'd blow me over with it.
What about a radio wave, Brummy? Is that physical?
Some ionizing radiation can do some physical damage to you, so I think it can on some level, like some radio waves. But they have to be on the other end of the spectrum, like ionizing. But some radio waves, they go straight through, don't they? So they're not.
We claim them to be physical.
Ones that can harm you.
Well, what about though that they're part of the photon spectrum? So, but don't they have mass?
I don't think photons do, but I think.
Yeah, isn't that how they push the light sail?
Sorry?
The light sails. Isn't that how they push the light cells? Because
they have momentum. So they
have no.
I think they act as if they have mass, don't they? But they don't actually have mass. Is that right?
Yeah, well, the momentum implies that they have mass, but they don't have any rest mass, and you can justify that because they don't rest. But like I said, the fact that they have momentum sort of implies that they're, in some ways, you can think of. There's certain ways where you can think of them as. So it's only correct to say that they don't have rest mass, because you can't really say, we can't speak about their mass otherwise.
They have energy, and energy can be converted into mass, right?
And matter. But like I said, the momentum is more direct because they have definite momentum. Like they said with the solar cells, that's the reason they can be pushed.
Okay, so still the E equals MC squared still is king.
Actually, I saw some of that doesn't even apply to light.
Can I go back to Jim's original question and say my conundrum here? Water I can hold in my hands. A radio wave I cannot hold in my hands. That's what I consider something physical, is something I can hold in my hand. I cannot hold a radio wave or a microwave or an ultraviolet wave or any type of wave in my hand.
Maybe you can heat your hand.
In your terms, then water would be both physical and not physical, because when it's in a gaseous form, that humidity.
Yeah, but is ocean water physical, Jen? Because we were specifically talking about ocean.
You're
ocean.
absolutely determined to do
going
this,
back
aren't
to where
you?
we were.
There's just no way you're
No,
not
just a
going to
dog
do
with a
it.
bone.
No.
Wow.
You're
Hey,
using
Chris,
the wrong.
It's like
Okay, think of it
Groundhog
this
Day, but
way,
fast
Jen.
forward.
Jen, think of it this way.
But if
Our
I eat you with
atoms
an
physical.
X-ray, if I eat you with an X-ray and it fucks up your DNA code, then that is a physical response to something. So, in a way, if I can damage your DNA with a radio wave, an X-ray, then obviously it's a physical thing that's destructing your DNA structure.
Atoms are a physical thing.
Yeah,
You
so
want to be
I would
using the
say.
word. You want to be using
Don't
the
have
word
to be.
tangible.
Sorry,
You
what's
wanna
up,
be-
Jeremy?
What's up? You want to be using the word tangible instead of physical.
Jeremy's got a
Thank
point
you.
there.
There needs
Yeah,
to be clarification.
good
Thank you
one,
very
Graham.
much.
If I can destroy his DNA with an X-ray gun, then it's a physical thing, isn't it? I'm shooting him with a physical wave.
I don't know. That
Yes,
gets
it
fuzzy
has
with me.
atoms.
I like to think of radio as being physical, but it's not something you can put in a bottle.
Yeah, the tangible thing was right the hand is here just in time for this too. But yeah, the tangible thing is a good point because
Is my
physical.
body physical, yes
Sorry,
or
Chris, go
no?
ahead.
My
Say that one
flesh
more
level is
time.
Only give him your name, rank, and serial number, everyone. Don't tell him anything else. We're
Oh my
protected
God, are
under
you
the
on
Geneva
acid too?
Convention.
Do you want to know what's physical right now?
I think anything that
Oh my God.
your physical reality has to be physical. in my opinion.
Where's right hand? He can.
Yeah,
he can
he's in the
sort-
chat. He's in the
Right
chat.
hand. Anyone
He
but
can-
that.
He can sort Chris out.
My point being, it's
Anyone
physical.
but that.
It's like my body being physical are also tangible.
Not everything tangible. Not everything physical is tangible. No.
So
Thank
waves
you.
are not an
In
object.
the ocean, I can grab and it is tangible and physical.
Waves are an emergent
Whoa!
property.
Wait,
Motion
What did you just say?
Nice, Chris.
Did you
Is
say
there, is there
G-word?
nothing that can ever be done about your echo? Do we always have to have this?
I think it's quite
Yes,
interesting
because I
because
can't stand wearing headphones.
I think it's
What?
interesting that you're saying. Oh, sorry.
Jem, QE is straight roasting you with some shit. He's got you saying that they never measured the radius of Earth or something by making a horizon observation.
That's true. That's ridiculous. Why do people keep saying that? It's absurd. Nobody's ever done that apart from flat earthers.
Al Baruni did.
No, but there's the argument that Jem was having was about the distance to the horizon.
Right.
I got the same.
Because they're claiming that because we don't ever see a physical horizon, we can't know the radius of the Earth. That's literally what they're saying.
Well, the thing is, refraction is more pronounced at a lower level, but when you're really high up, it's not really effective.
Right. Baruni's observation wasn't using the distance, using the angular drop, and that also has little, like it's still affected by refraction, but not in a meaningful way. Like not in a way that's gonna,
about Baruni's observation. I was talking about geodetic surveying.
Yeah, right.
That's been accurately and properly done for the best bit of 300 years. So
an app,
he can talk all these bollocks that he wants about. We don't know where the horizon is, but it's just lies. That isn't how we know the size and shape of the Earth. It's not.
There's an app you can download on the phone. It uses the gyroscope to create basically an eye level that is consistent, and then as you go up in altitude, you'll notice that the horizon is dropping below that at a consistent rate the higher you go, and you can actually, it shows you like the angle that you can measure between the eye level and horizon, and do that Al-Baroni math to figure out the radius of the Earth.
Yeah, it's actually the observation that I'm building that into a computer, an Arduino, and that's what we're putting on the balloon. Basically the same thing.
Are you going to stabilize the camera? Are you going
But with his camera, you could hold it, of course. But with the one I'm doing, it's only going to take pictures when it's level.
Oh, okay.
So it's not going to snap. It's going to wait. It's just going to be swinging. It's going to measure when it's perfectly level, and then when it takes the picture, it's also going to have the reading just to make sure that the X, Y, Z.
When you're testing that, you might want to be careful, because if it's in motion constantly, the way the video image is captured, it could get a little flaky, because the image is being taken over a period of time. The camera's moving, so you have to grab the shutter speed, or you're gonna get like weird tearing and stuff. It's not gonna.
I'm testing it a whole bunch beforehand.
Well, you don't even really need a balloon or anything. You can just walk up a mountain or go in a plane, and the little app on your phone. You can just look at it yourself. You don't have to trust anyone's video.
This is a part of something else with the balloon, so it's just a part of the test. But anyhow,
for flat.
Yeah. Hold on to the camera, be in an airplane or something like that.
Kosho, you should bring a sample of the air back.
Why? They're cool, but why?
I don't know. It'd be cool. Like you said it.
What?
It will be the same air as you find on the ground, except a little bit drier.
Bring a sample of the air.
Yeah.
An
air sample.
It's going to be the same thing.
My stepbrother once brought me a sample of the Lake Geneva shoreline because it's in the song "Smoke on the Water." And he went to Lake Geneva and he got a jar and just went on the shoreline and got like some water and some pebbles, scooped it up in the jar and brought it back for me.
They brought some moon rocks. They got the moon rocks from your fairy
How do you know
tale.
that's where it came from, Jim? How do you know?
Well, actually, I have actually since been to Lake Geneva, so it does. I know that of its existence at least.
Well,
and I no longer
looking to be abducted, were you?
I no longer have the sample of its shoreline, unfortunately. So,
but he wants to get a sample of the air.
Well, the atmosphere does change, but like it's up around 300,000 feet when it starts getting like appreciably different mixture of airs.
I think you can buy cans of air, can't you, from different cities?
Yeah, that's true.
Yes,
that is handy.
Harry air.
Yeah, from Spaceballs.
You can actually buy different samples of water from different rivers and lakes around the world and compare them for clarity. It's not something you want to do.
Really cool test that anyone can do.
It's not something that we want to do, but you have apparently made the relevant inquiries. So,
Well, actually, just speaking of something completely irrelevant, I've just walked out the back of my house. It is 6:40 in the morning, and I'm looking at two planets right next to the moon.
Yeah, which ones are those supposed to be? I'm curious. I meant to look it up, but
I have a feeling it would be Venus and Saturn, I'm reckoning. I don't have my stellarium up or anything, so I don't know. But there's no other stars. There's no other stars visible. So,
well, they're pretty apparent with the naked eye, and they're pretty bright. At least the one is.
This is going to be very bright right now. But if you just in the morning there, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
it's Jupiter
always 7 in the morning.
No, when I saw the moon last night or the night before, forgive me, but I did see what looked like or could have been a planet, and it was very close to the moon and quite bright from my perspective.
They would have been there for the past couple of days, so. But yeah, it's
Right.
Jupiter. Yeah.
It is Jupiter?
Saturn. I would have thought it would have been Jupiter and Venus, but maybe Venus is out during the night.
I mean, I don't know.
So,
Is there any
I'm just trying
significance to this
recollect.
observation? Whoever brought it up?
I did not.
It's the fact that the sun is actually off to my right and the moon is up and to my left. The planets are over there and the sun's over the other side.
Is it true that boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider?
I heard about that. Yeah, this Christmas, I think on Christmas, either Christmas or the solstice, there's I think Jupiter is supposed to occult Saturn. Or
Yeah,
eclipse
there's
one
an
of the two.
alignment. Yeah, the moon, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn.
Coach, so what is your
And
air?
It is.
Yeah, at one stage it oculars Saturn. So if you had a powerful enough telescope, you'll see it move in front of it.
Hey, do you guys want definitive proof that we're on a globe?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, this is easy. You can test this, all right? All you need is a scale, a weight, and a car. Okay, you take a road trip, a few hundred miles, and you measure the weight at different latitudes. And every time you increase in latitude, the weight increases, and the closer you
Or
get to
an
the equator,
altitude.
I'm gonna have to stop you. That's fallacious. That's an FP then Q fallacy.
And also, you have to account for altitude.
Fallacy. Since when is that? If P then Q fallacy.
What is that?
If weight,
What's
weight
that
differential.
fallacy?
If weight, it's a. Oh, I forgot the name for it.
Modus tollens.
Denying the
If P then Q
antecedent.
fallacy.
Begging the question.
No.
A non sequitur, I think. Go
Deny
ahead.
the consequence.
Have another go, Jeremy. Where are you going with it?
It's if P then Q. If weight differential at different latitudes than Earth rotation. If P then Q.
You've got two if statements, though. Yeah, but you've got two if statements.
And I don't think the result of this was Earth rotation. I think it's actually much worse. And it's proof of a globe, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, the idea is that, with centrifugal
Yeah, I
force,
understand the principle, mate. We're not new to this.
Oh, but we have to be told, Jim.
There's just no reason to explain that on a flat Earth, though.
And especially the fact that it happens both at the going both directions, essentially. After the equator, it starts to revert.
What you got, Jen? You got anything? Chemo, you got anything for this?
I have to say I didn't catch 100% of the last comment that was made. My apology.
Okay, long and short of it is at any given latitude, as you go north, the weight of an object decreases.
Okay, then how do you account for altitude with those readings?
You do it at sea level, and it will happen anywhere at sea level. You'll see this change.
Oh, I thought you were like a consistent direction, not sparse
the
areas
direction
across
is
the ball.
north, not up.
Although with an airplane, you can do it also, and you can change it just based on your velocity in a given direction.
And this is a really easy experiment. With you just buy a scale off of Amazon and take a road trip yourself. Like, you don't have to need any special equipment.
If you fly 1,000 miles an hour, the opposite of Earth's rotation, the weight will be the same as it is at the North Pole.
Why hasn't this been done already? That's not a hard thing
It has.
to do.
A couple fools done it.
It has.
There was actually a documentary here where they did it as well.
They
did it with people and weighed them in different places.
Was that you said did it? Double four? What?
On Nova?
Nova?
Weighing people, though, is really complicated because every time you exhale, you lose weight. Every time you drink, you gain weight. In similar proportion to what you're going to see as far as the change goes.
Yeah.
So that 24 hours it takes you.
I think they did weights as well.
If you're talking about Nova.
Done in England?
I'm sure it was a UK.
Yeah, because they did one on top of a granite hill and explained how the amount of granite also had an effect on the weight.
I'm trying to find it now.
Nova video. But yeah, that
Thanks
wasn't
for doing my research.
I can show you a video where they did it, but I mean, it's kind of an amateur little video, but it still proves.
And continuing on that route that you can tell the Earth is moving, go up in the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. You'll see a weight difference between the ground and the top of the tower.
We won't talk about their clock differences either, will we?
That takes some good equipment.
Time at the top is different to the time at the ground floor.
Whoa. That sounds pretty complicated.
But it's the same time. It's the same time, but it's the sun sets at different times.
No, actually, you can if you go up to the top of the of that building with a cesium clock and one at the bottom, they will tick at different rates.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I think you meant
like for a different time.
I told the 24/7 Flat Earth guys about this weight thing, and their excuse was they claimed maybe there's an unknown electrostatic force that is stronger around.
Use a piece of wood then.
Well, I would imagine that they say what they said because most people over at 24/7 do not acknowledge the explanation of gravity, because even one of the scientist priests, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist actor, says he doesn't know what it is. Nobody does.
But we know what it does.
Sorry, doesn't. Yeah, just because you don't know what it is doesn't mean you don't know what it does. Yeah. No. I'm not having a go at you. Just because you don't know what it is or what causes it, if you see what it does, you can make an explanation of it.
And we know what he means by that, and we're not making something out of it that he did not mean.
Another thing that you'll find out is almost anything that you check down to the level that we check gravity has the same problem. Magnets. We don't know why magnetism happens at that level.
Okay.
But you don't disagree with magnets.
She does now, right? Come on, John, be consistent.
Well, I know you guys love to really super debate and everything, and I think a couple different people are asking me things, and so how about if you guys explain some things to me, and if I feel like asking a question, I will.
Well, that wasn't
just to make an
Keep
explanation.
asking me these complicated questions. I'm just trying to relax and listen to y'all, really, honestly. That's what I was thinking when I came in here.
Did that guy realize?
Go ahead,
did that guy realize he was using the FP then Q fallacy? So you got rid of him?
I don't think that that is an FP then Q fallacy, or rather, it's borne out by the.
No, it's a FP then Q fallacy, definitely. I explained it.
No, you're mistaken what even the significance of the FP then Q fallacy is. It's not a fallacy necessarily.
If P and Q are in fact the same, then P does equal Q, right?
Yeah. The problem with the P then Q fallacy, the black swan argument, is that they're not asking the question properly. They're malforming the question.
He said if it's the same thing, then it's not a fallacy, but that wasn't the same thing. That was if weight differential at different latitudes, then Earth. That's not the same thing.
No, he said if P equals Q, then it's not a fallacy. But if there's either a third option or something that doesn't add up, you've created the fallacy.
Sure, if you could prove it, then it's not a fallacy. Then,
well, I can.
How?
Okay, so take your crappy black swan, right? You've got your two things, right? That horizon equals Q, right? But it doesn't take into account.
The Earth
yeah, just hang on. I'm giving you an explanation.
It wasn't proof of Earth rotation, was it?
Oh, what was he doing with?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Sorry.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to be proof of a globe. Is where I was going. And I don't think it is. I think it's evidence that comports with the globe, but I don't think it proves it.
It's a fallacy.
It's only a fallacy if you say it's proof positive 100%. If you don't say that, if you say it's evidence, like it's a hypothesis that hasn't been falsified yet, if you say that, then it's not affirming the consequent fallacy.
It's indicative of.
Well, until you prove Earth rotation, it's a fallacy. Then, if you guys can prove it, then guys can get on me for using the fallacy.
Well, if we say we've got proof of it, then you can get onto us for using the affirm the consequent fallacy.
No, but to other explanations, but I don't think there are any because it wouldn't make any sense on a fly.
And you shouldn't be concerned with fallacies in this way because we aren't in a formal debate. We're in just a normal conversation. And there's no reason for people to, you can point out where what they've said, fails logic. But I don't think we need to be pointing out fallacies in that way because
no doubt
they aren't
right,
part of a normal conversation.
Yeah,
you see, one of the things I think that's constantly overlooked is that most of the cases, these things are predicted before they're measured. So somebody went and said, "Hey, if Earth is spinning this fast, that means I have a tangential velocity of this. Therefore, I should see a weight decrease." Then they go out and they measure it and they say, "Oh shit, it's exactly what I predicted." Damn, that's kind of much better than. But that seems very like good proof to me.
But if you were in a debate, though, that would. Oh,
why?
My bad, go ahead.
It's
No,
easier to see confirmation of the hypothesis.
It's like if you found a bloody knife at a murder scene without your fingerprints, and you tell the judge that's a P then Q fallacy. Just because there's a fucking knife with my fingerprints and blood on it doesn't mean that I was the one who stabbed him. You know, it's like, well, it
doesn't.
Probably.
He could have picked the knife up after, he could have came in, saw his wife on the floor, picked the knife up. Oh shit, my fingerprints are on it now.
Yeah, but that's true with literally any fact. Any fact could have other ridiculous explanations that would, it's like Occam's razor, right?
Well, unless you get a scientific, something you've proven through science, then you're good.
No, you can just use the preponderance of the evidence. I found his fingerprints on it. He was in town. He had a grudge with his wife. You keep on adding those things up until you say, you know what? Everybody will say he's guilty. And that's what we do with the Earth. We have a preponderance of evidence. It all points towards the same thing. Flat Earth, nothing.
Yeah, but
to that.
How many times is the guy not guilty and they end up prosecuting an innocent man? One out of every 100,000, 100,000.
That's irrelevant to the topic.
I'm just saying this could be the one time where you're trying to say it's a.
But I'm telling you, you're not looking at this properly right now, and it's evidenced by what you're saying and asking. The point you're taking shows that you're not.
It's possible that all of these points of evidence are misleading us in the wrong direction, and the Earth really is flat, even against all of these demonstrations. But when we're making practical decisions in everyday life, we have to look at what's the most reasonable, right? We can still be wrong sometimes, but we just have to go with the most obvious answer that the evidence points.
I do have to ask, why did you run Jen off, Jeremy? You don't feel the least bit guilty about that, Jeremy?
He evaporated.
The one thing that really pisses me off about the flat earthers is the whole like buoyancy thing, like, oh, things go down because of density. It's like, why does it go down because of density? It's because of gravity. Like, they have no explanation for why things go.
Yeah, why not left? Why not right? Why not diagonally?
Because there's an up and down in nature.
So God just magically ordained up and down as
just like he magically ordained gravity.
There's no problem with God ordaining gravity. Just if you want to call his magic up and down force gravity, that's cool.
But I think that I'm not actually arguing that, but that is what they often say, and it does seem the most sensible response to me to just say, well, that's how it is.
The thing is that in our model of reality, things are consistent across the universe. Like with them, it's like, well, the Earth doesn't obey the same rules as the sun and the moon. Those things can just float around and be round, but the Earth is flat, and then gas does something completely different, and nothing is consistent. We don't really know why they're not consistent. We don't have any kind of uniform model to tie it all together.
Problem of only being able to deal with one problem at a time rather than looking at the spectrum and what it points to.
Yeah, flat earthers love to deal with things one item at a time. Never try and put it all together.
They even object to the fact that it works together. I've even had them say that to me. Doesn't it bother you that everything relies upon everything else in your model?
No.
No, that's how it's supposed to be. That's how you'd want it to be. You know, a coherent description of reality would be like that, right?
Well, it's why I like the term co-witnessing.
Mm-hmm.
Which works very